Welcome to our podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that many language learners struggle with: how to think in English. If you've ever found yourself translating in your head or hesitating during conversations, this episode is for you. Thinking in English is a crucial skill that can transform your language learning journey. Whether you're a beginner trying to build confidence or an advanced learner aiming for fluency, mastering this ability will help you communicate more naturally and effectively. In the next few minutes, we'll explore why thinking in English is so important, the amazing benefits it brings to your language skills, and most importantly, practical techniques that you can start using today to make the shift. We'll also look at common challenges and how to overcome them. So get ready to take your English skills to the next level. Let's explore what thinking in English really means. When you're new to learning English, it's natural to translate everything from your native language. You might think of what you want to say in your first language, then mentally convert it to English before speaking. This process is like having a tiny translator in your head, working overtime to help you communicate. But thinking in English is different. It means forming your thoughts, ideas, and responses directly in English, bypassing that translation step completely. Instead of going through your native language first, you connect concepts and meanings straight to English words and expressions. Imagine you're hungry and want an apple. If you're translating, your brain goes through multiple steps. First thinking the word for apple in your native language, then finding its English equivalent. When you think in English, you simply see or imagine the apple and think apple immediately. It's a direct connection between the object or concept and the English word. This cognitive shift is particularly important because it changes how you process and use the language. When you think in English, you're not just learning vocabulary and grammar rules. You're actually rewiring your brain to work with English naturally. This means you can respond more quickly in conversations, understand others more easily, and express yourself more authentically. Think about how a child learns their first language. They don't translate, they simply connect words directly to meanings and concepts. This is the same natural approach we want to develop with English. It's about creating new neural pathways that allow you to process English independently of your native language. This might seem challenging at first, but it's a skill that develops gradually with practice. The key is to start seeing English not as a subject to study, but as a tool for genuine communication and expression. When you make this shift, you'll find yourself becoming more confident and fluent in your English communication. Let's explore the remarkable benefits that come with thinking in English. The most immediate advantage you'll notice is a dramatic improvement in your speaking fluency. When you think directly in English, you eliminate that time-consuming translation process, allowing your thoughts to flow naturally into speech. This means you can participate in conversations more spontaneously, just like native speakers do. Consider this real-world scenario. You're in a job interview, and your potential employer asks about your greatest professional achievement. If you're thinking in English, you can respond confidently and immediately, sharing your experience with natural enthusiasm. There's no awkward pause while you translate, no stumbling over words, just clear, effective communication. Thinking in English also transforms how you understand the language. You'll start catching subtle meanings in conversations that might have escaped you before. Idioms and expressions become clearer because you're processing them directly in English. For instance, when someone says it's raining cats and dogs, you'll understand the meaning instantly instead of getting confused by a literal translation. Your vocabulary naturally expands when you think in English because you begin to associate words with concepts rather than translations. You'll find yourself automatically reaching for the most appropriate English word instead of translating from your native language. This leads to more precise and natural expression. For example, instead of knowing just one word for happy, you'll naturally start using variations like delighted, thrilled, or content in the right context. This direct connection to English also enhances your ability to remember new words and phrases. When you learn vocabulary through real-life contexts and direct thinking, rather than through translation lists, these words become part of your active vocabulary much more quickly. You'll find yourself naturally using sophisticated expressions that you've absorbed from your environment, making your English sound more native-like. Finally, thinking in English reduces mental fatigue during long conversations or meetings. When you're not constantly translating, You can focus more energy on the actual content of the discussion and engage more meaningfully with others. This makes the entire experience of using English more enjoyable and less stressful. Let's start with a simple but powerful technique: labeling your environment in English. Take some sticky notes and write the English words for objects around your home. Every time you look at your coffee maker, see the word coffee maker. When you open your refrigerator or sit on your couch, you're reinforcing these English words in your mind. This creates a natural English environment right in your own space. Make this practice more engaging by describing these objects in short sentences. Instead of just seeing window, think the window is open or I need to clean the window. This builds a more complex relationship with the language and helps you think in complete thoughts rather than isolated words. Moving on to daily activities, turn your routine into an English learning opportunity. As you go about your morning, narrate your actions in English. I'm brushing my teeth. The toothpaste is minty. Now I'm making my bed. This internal commentary helps you process everyday activities in English naturally. When you're cooking, describe each step. I'm chopping onions. Now I'm heating the oil in the pan. These simple narrations build your confidence and make English an integral part of your daily life. Now let's explore how media can become your English thinking companion. Choose content that genuinely interests you. If you love cooking, watch English cooking shows. If you're into science, find engaging documentaries. The key is to immerse yourself without translations or subtitles in your native language. This forces your brain to process information directly in English. When watching shows or movies, pause occasionally and summarize what you've just watched. In English, of course, try to predict what might happen next. This active engagement helps you process and formulate thoughts in English naturally. Don't just passively consume the content, interact with it mentally. Podcasts are particularly effective because you can listen while doing other activities. Choose podcasts slightly above your current level to challenge yourself. After each episode, practice explaining the main points to yourself in English. This helps develop both your listening and thinking skills simultaneously. Mind mapping is another powerful technique for organizing your thoughts in English. Start with a central topic. Let's say vacation. Draw branches for different aspects: accommodation, activities, transportation, food. From each branch, create smaller ones with specific vocabulary and phrases. For activities, you might add sightseeing, swimming, hiking, and related expressions like take photos or explore the city. Use these mind maps to plan conversations or writing exercises. Before discussing a topic, spend 5 minutes creating a quick mind map. This helps you organize your thoughts in English and provides ready-to-use vocabulary. You can also use mind maps to break down complex topics into manageable chunks, making it easier to think about them in English. Remember to review and expand your mind maps regularly. Add new vocabulary as you learn it, and try to make connections between different topics. This visual organization of language helps your brain think more naturally in English patterns rather than translating from your native language. One of the most effective yet underutilized techniques for developing English thinking is talking to yourself. This isn't about having full conversations alone, but rather narrating your thoughts and daily activities in English. Start with simple observations about your surroundings or your current activities. Tell yourself, I need to finish this report by 5, or these cookies smell amazing as you go about your day. Make this practice more structured by setting specific times for self-talk. During your morning routine, describe each step. I'm brewing coffee now, or I should wear the blue shirt today. When making decisions, weigh your options in English. If I leave now, I'll beat the traffic, or maybe I should save this money for my vacation. Challenge yourself to express emotions and complex thoughts in English. Instead of just describing actions, try articulating your feelings. I'm feeling anxious about tomorrow's presentation, or I'm really proud of how far my English has come. This helps you develop a more personal connection with the language and builds your emotional vocabulary. During these self-talk sessions, don't worry about perfect grammar or pronunciation. The goal is to make English your default thinking language. Focus on expressing yourself naturally and building the confidence to think spontaneously in English. Remember, even native speakers don't think in perfect sentences. It's about developing that natural, automatic flow of thoughts in English. Let's talk about the common challenges you might face when trying to think in English. First, many learners struggle with mental fatigue. It's completely normal to feel mentally exhausted when you first start thinking in English. Your brain is building new neural pathways, and this takes energy. Take breaks when needed, but don't give up. This fatigue will decrease as thinking in English becomes more natural. Another common challenge is the temptation to fall back into your native language, especially when dealing with complex topics or emotional situations. Instead of getting frustrated, accept this as part of the learning process. Start with simple thoughts and gradually work your way up to more complicated ideas. When you catch yourself thinking in your native language, gently redirect your thoughts to English. Speed is often a concern for many learners. You might feel that thinking in English slows you down, especially in conversations. Remember that this is temporary. Just like learning to drive a car, what feels awkward and slow at first will become automatic with practice. Focus on accuracy first, and speed will naturally follow as you become more comfortable with the process. Sometimes you might not know the exact word you need in English. Rather than getting stuck, practice describing what you mean using simpler words. This actually helps develop your problem-solving skills in English and often leads to learning new vocabulary naturally. Keep a note of these moments and look up the precise words later to expand your vocabulary. We've covered a lot of ground today about thinking in English, and I want to emphasize that this journey is unique for every language learner. Remember, the key is to start small and build gradually. Whether it's labeling items in your home, narrating your daily activities, or practicing self-talk, every step you take brings you closer to naturally thinking in English. Don't be discouraged if you find yourself translating sometimes. It's a normal part of the process. The most important thing is to stay consistent with your practice and be patient with yourself. Even just a few minutes of intentional practice each day can lead to significant improvements over time. I encourage you to choose one technique we discussed today and try it out this week. Maybe start with labeling items in your home or narrating your morning routine in English. Whatever you choose, commit to it for at least 7 days. Remember, thinking in English isn't just about language skills. It's about opening doors to new opportunities and connections in your life. Keep practicing, stay curious, and most importantly, enjoy your language learning journey. The ability to think in English will come naturally with time and dedication.